We want to give enough time to our two doctors, Ken Pepperdine and Ron Boersema. Doctors Ken and Ron, I'm handing it over to you.
Well, Ron has the graphics, so I'll have, he can put it up for us, and then we'll lead you through it. So first of all, I got to say that this isn't written in stone. This is a principle. So you're getting a principle of how to build health and where the foundation of health is and what to select in your pursuit of health. The specifics are variable. So at the base, why don't you go over the base, Ron, and I'll take number 2.
Okay. Well, as you can see, going left to right here, we've got healthy choices is number 1, the foundation. And really, this is a pyramid where any structure needs a good foundation. So what we've got in the bottom base, of both in the dark blue and the lighter blue, are things that are inexpensive. And I don't know if you can see the dollar sign off to the far right, but there's $1 sign there. And basically what we're saying by this is almost free. It doesn't cost you anything. So, and you'll see as we progress that the dollar signs are multiplied as we go up the pyramid. But we need some things like exercise. We can walk out the door. I mowed my grass today, and just mowing the grass, I put on almost 10,000 steps walking. So that's a good thing. Forgiveness. You know, there's so much anxiety in the world today, and everybody seems to be angry at everybody, except the people who are sharing Emulin. They're probably real happy with you, but there's a lot of people who are dealing with unforgiveness, and boy, that's a drag on the immune system. It's a drag on life, period. And then we won't have the joy. So joy is something that we get by just being who God created us to be. And we need clean water. We need the social bonds, and we've got, you know, so many connections today that we can connect with people, whether it's through Facebook, these group meetings that we're having now that literally are going all over the world, which is quite amazing because I'm from an era before there was internet, before there was cell phones, before there was anything like this. So we've got some great communication skills and social bonds that we can really connect with people. And family is so critical to all that. And then it goes to what I've been teaching for 30 years now. And we got to get back to the right food. Because if we don't start with the right food to begin with, and we're only taking supplements, and we've got great supplements, we've heard great testimonies, but we need that foundation of unprocessed foods. So, you know, you go to the grocery store and it's just shelf after shelf after shelf after shelf of foods that are dead, processed, man-made, that do more harm than good. So what we want is the unpasteurized or pasteurized food, so organic as much as we can get it. And then on the flip side of it, we need the spiritual side, and that's so critical as well. God, spirit, love, all those things come through God. And we need a clean environment. We need healthy breathing. We need clean water. We need proper rest. We need good mental hygiene. And then that's simply as just getting good thoughts in, associating with people who are positive and have like minds. So those are the foundations, and they really don't cost anything for the most part. Ken, I'll turn it to you.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Ron. And I'll just say a few things. And again, these are variable. So wherever you're spiritually grounded, that's good. We're not trying to push any one particular religion or anything like that, although I know Ron is very Christian. Mental hygiene, we have to groom our thoughts. A lot of people are buried in worry. Worry deals with the future. Fear deals with the future. Regret deals with the past. And if you're living, if your mind is in the future and your mind is in the past, you're not living in the present. So being in the present is very, very important. Happiness or joy, that's free. It is simply a choice. Don't make your happiness attached to things. Forgiveness, I'll never forget a doctor from Okinawa, Tom Iwama, who I used to listen to his talks, and people would ask him, why is it that people from Okinawa live so long? Is it the coral calcium, or is it the fish, or whatever? And Tom said, no, we never go to bed at night without having forgiven every act of the day before. Because if you don't forgive, that's carrying a stone in your heart, and that will kill you. And I've taken that very seriously. So those are just a couple of comments. Nutritional deficiency, all right? So what are we missing? Obviously the flavonoids. We all know that story. We all know the story about Climax, so I'm not going to get into that in detail because this is just where they fit. Probiotics, we've got to get our gut health good. Vitamin D, now you could put a question mark beside that, because if you're a lifeguard in Hawaii, chances are you don't need vitamin D. So there are other things. These are not the only things, but there are other things that fit in there. And so don't take this as being written in stone. It's variable, but it's giving you the principle of where we should go. When you have the base that Ron just outlined, you have a base of health. And when you take those things that work on deficiency, those are the people, those are your patients who get really well really fast. If they're not getting really well really fast, go back to the base and say, where are you missing something in that base? What's going on? Are you highly stressed? Or is there other things going on? Because that's affecting your response. Ron, do you want to talk about 3?
Well, yeah, I can. I want to really say something about the oils too. We've got to really be careful about the oils because there's so many that are coming from sources today that are not the cleanest. So we got to watch those omega-3s and omega-6s. And what we're getting pretty much in our diet today, unfortunately, is a lot of way overboard in omega-9s. So we got to look for good things and not necessarily even fish-based because of what's going on in our culture and what's happened in Japan with Fukushima. A lot of the omega-3 oils are fish-based, and some of the fish we got to really be very careful with. So that's a really important thing. The minerals too, we got to get those from good sources, and that leads us really into what we're talking about, especially with the Climax, is we're getting the trace minerals that are found in Klamath Lake. And if we get those trace minerals, we talked a little bit about this last week, but there are spark plugs. If we've got energy, and Maureen had such energy, and it was a thrill, Maureen, to listen to you talk. We are all blessed by your presentation. Both presentations were really great. You had such a dynamic presentation because I know a lot of what you've dealt with. I've seen a lot of that in my family. So that spark comes from minerals. Minerals are the spark plugs of the body. So we've got a lot of them naturally occurring in Climax. And then the Emulin, I was privileged to be on a call last Saturday with Dr. Joe. There was just a small group of doctors on a call. We have these every other week, pretty much, and back and forth between Dr. Joe and Dr. Stefano. But he talked about the Emulin, and you mentioned something, Maureen, about the overuse of Emulin. If we use too much, and he talked about that, it'll just ooze out through your skin, which will protect us from sunburns. And if you've got things like psoriasis, my father had that to the point where we didn't get to go to the beach much because he wasn't going to go out and show his elbows and knees. So we lived 6 miles from Lake Michigan, and we hardly ever got to the beach until I got old enough to go by myself because of the psoriasis, the heartbreak of psoriasis. So boy, Emulin has so much potency in terms of those flavonoids and the flavonoid deficiencies, and we're hoping to have another graphic soon that Dr. Joe is looking at. We've not got an approval on that yet from him, but flavonoid deficiency syndrome. He spoke it on a corporate call about that, and he's expanded quite a bit in the doctor's calls, and I put together a graphic on that too. So we've got 2, and this isn't a complete thing either. We're talking about Igalen here, so we've got Emulin, we've got Climax. but there are other things from other companies that can also health augment our diets. So that's a, and when I say augment our diets, we've got to have the foundation of food, good food. And then because it's so nutrient deficient and because of the farming practices we have in our culture today, and that's pretty much worldwide, and all the pesticides and herbicides we're missing when we can't get it all because the flavonoids are not in the foods as they were grown 100 years ago. So we need the emulin, the Climax, and other good nutrients, and that's what we need to take it. So Ken, why don't I take it over to you, and you can talk about stage 4.
Yes, well, I happen to work there.
Yes, as do I.
Yes, so do you. So does Debbie.
Yes.
And we could put a lot of different things in there in traditional Chinese. I hope that enfolds meridian work, Debbie. So these are people, again, who are helping improve your health. And so, as you see, your foundation is what you build on. You fix the deficiencies. You can augment your health. There are certain things that will bring you along even further. And then when there are problems, or if you want to improve your health yet, there are natural holistic interventions that will improve your health again. And they're all in blue because they're health oriented, right? They're seeking to improve health. Now, of course, dentistry and maybe optometric, they may bridge that gap between the blue and the red because they treat their share of disease as well. My optometrist friend deals a lot with oh golly, anyway, I won't.
Root canals?
Yeah, well, and retinal detachments and things like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so those are health oriented. Now, when you go to the top, it's red, and we don't mean that to pick on physicians or allopathic doctors, but we're just saying their focus is entirely different. They're fighting disease. I think this is one of the reasons that Dr. Rijen approved this, because that is exactly his approach. He worked in a field where they were fighting disease constantly, and he got tired of that, and was hoping to embrace health. And so the more you can build health up this pyramid, the less you need of that top one. And you'll notice the dollar signs get huge when you get into disease. And there was just a study in Canada, $13.8 billion in increased health costs due to bad food choices per year. So it's huge. Now the other part of it, and it's a bit, a lot of people don't realize this. Allopathic practice is defined as a system of medicine that aims to combat disease through the use of remedies such as drugs or surgery. Practitioners rely on diagnosis of the disease state and are focused on fighting that disease. So that's how your GP works or your specialist works. They need a disease entity to battle with. Everything below that red area is engaged to prevent those disease entities from occurring. And that's the cheap stuff. Now, in our little part of the world here in Canada, well, let's call British Columbia my province, 80% of our healthcare budget is spent on chronic degenerative disease, which is ignorance of the blue part of the pyramid. So if you're doing the blue part of the pyramid, the healthcare budget decreases by 80%. Only for 20% are the medical costs. And in my little part of the world, our taxes, or our healthcare budget is 48% of our taxes. So 80% of 40% of our taxes here, and I'm sure it's similar elsewhere, could be prevented by following this blue part. So it's actually a money saver and a suffering saver. Maureen has sure discovered that in spades. Now, we don't mean to pick on physicians. They're overloaded. They're hard to get into because they're seeing a lot of diseases that are better prevented. If we have a motor vehicle accident or a serious fracture or something like that, that's exactly where I want to be. And they've got the best tools. They can do marvelous things. But to use them to prevent some of these chronic disorders is like trying to swat flies with a Mack truck. I'm finished. Ron, you got anything else?
Yeah, I think
I got on my pedestal there a little bit. Sorry.
I think so often we think about drug therapy as being so wonderful because we can have pretty much instant results with alleviating some pain. You know, you get a headache, you get a broken arm, you have surgery for whatever reason, an emergency, and there are drugs that can really help and are very beneficial in times of crisis. But like Ken said, if we look at that blue area, that's pretty much your responsibility. Your responsibility. And that's something that people don't want to take anymore. They don't want to take care of themselves. They want to give it all up to the doctor because the doctor has been telling us through television and through drug commercials, the drug industry, that they have all the answers. So if they've got all the answers, why do we need to do anything? So we're not doing the basic things on the blue part of the pyramid. We're just leaving it all, and then pretty soon we do okay until we're 30s or 40s, and then it all starts to accumulate on us. And then, well, we're trained to go see your doctor because that's what we're told, and they put us on medications which cause side effects, which just makes that little point on the top there, the dollar just ka-ching, 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 and we're not really resolving anything. We're just masking symptoms that have been missed at the bottom of the pyramid. So we got to go to the big, we got to maximize levels 1 through 4 to really optimize our health. I don't know if that shows up on the screen totally there, it does on mine. But then we need to minimize level 5, that fighting disease. That's a last resort. But it's our responsibility to do the bottom. We've got to take that on. We cannot leave that to somebody. You can't leave it to your spouse. You've got to take that.
One of the really nice things that Maureen said was that, I'll interpret it, but she was firmly stuck at level 5. And somebody opened up the door to begin to proceed down that pyramid, and her body restored itself. So it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to hear. And when you get people that are stuck at that level, they partially don't believe that anything could work better than what they're getting. There's only one other comment that I'm going to make is that at that foundational base level of healthy lifestyle choices, all of these things are backed up by serious research. These aren't fluffy things. There's serious research on that.
I want to thank both of you in the way you've worked on this so that we could have this available. And I've just enjoyed it, and I think everyone here has.